Hi everybody, this is Christopher's Comic Book Hut, and I am your host, Christopher, and I am at the Comic Book Hut as we speak. And today I'm going to do a video, Hostility in Comics, Comic Book Creators, Past and Present. Before I get into that, I'm gonna announce a couple new subscribers. Got a whole bunch of subscribers over the last 2 days, and I haven't had a chance to acknowledge them. I haven't had a chance to write their names down. But I got a whole bunch of names here. First up is Jack Straw. Another is Isan Dolan, Yoko Automata, Seeking Superman. I don't know if that's the Seeking Superman from the past, but I have another Seeking Superman. I have another one that I just got a little while ago. His name is John from Twitter. Welcome aboard, everybody. Hopefully you enjoy the channel. You stay on the channel. This is a channel where I make fun of everything and everybody, and even I am a target, which is fine. I do a live stream every Sunday night at 8 p.m. where I do a drawing that I decided to do during the week, where I get suggestions. I got a lot of great suggestions on Sunday. I think some of the suggestions included, let me see, some Ninja Turtles, Mysterio, Alfred Pennyworth, the Black Suit Spider-Man, Venom. Normally over the last month when I've been doing drawings, and I've been calling them in, it's been from a book that I've done during the week. Maybe some character will interest me during the week, or something that'll come up during one of these videos. A lot of times it'll just pop into my head. So Sunday night I had a long talk with my subscribers, and I mentioned sort of labor relations within comic books, how it's been in its history. And I mentioned Jack Kirby. Now yesterday I did a video talking about this graphic novel by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And if you don't know about Jack Kirby, he was a feisty little guy. He was a very principled guy. And he fought very hard to get what he thought was his value in comic books. And he did not get it during his lifetime. Fortunately, his family was able to get it over the last few years, to where the family's gotten recognized. They've gotten a lot. Jack has gotten a lot of credits to the books. He's gotten a lot of credits to the movies, which is wonderful. They deserve it. I had mentioned, and it's interesting, I mentioned it a little bit during the Silver Surfer book that I had reviewed right here that I'm showing you now, how the status of the way they treat their workers is like slave labor. They bring in people to do a book, they underpay them, they treat them like garbage, and if there's any reason they don't like them, they get rid of them. I do not understand why the comic book creators of the past, in particular people like Neil Adams, who had worked very hard to get creator rights in terms of these characters, that they did not unionize. You don't know, so many old creators are destitute. They can't take care of themselves a lot of times. A lot of times they deal with so many health issues in terms of diabetes, in terms of heart disease. And as you know, Walt Simonson is a big advocate of the Hero Initiative. And I don't understand why these creators did not unionize or organize themselves to protect themselves against these corporations over the years. I mean, they are treated like 18th century workers, and now you're seeing some of the kinds of, and I was thinking about this, that Jack Kirby had fought so hard against the powers that be when he was alive, in terms of getting credit for his characters at Marvel, that I wonder what the kind of people he was probably dealing with, just in terms of how they treat other people, in terms of how they treat each other, how they present themselves beyond the names on the books. And I think that now we're all getting a chance to see what kind of people we're dealing with. They're terrible with customers. They seem to be terrible with each other. And it's interesting to see it, because now everything is out in the open. We have social media, and we'll see all this kind of back and forth. And as you know, I've been following on Twitter, they've been attacking Peter Simeti, who's an Asian American, and he has his own company called Alterna Comics. And he's been attacked because he has taken a neutral stance. And the neutral stance is, I am not gonna say anything bad about the fans. The fans can buy whatever they want. It has nothing to do with me. I encourage everybody to look at my books and buy my books and give it a chance. And they attacked him. because he didn't take their side. I'm gonna name a whole bunch of names here. If you don't know about my channel, I give nicknames to all the creators that I've come across over the last 3 months, 4 months since I've been doing the channel. A little while ago, I found a list online that was interesting to make fun of. It's all in fun, folks, so you better buckle up, because if you're listening for the first time, you're gonna hear names that are being said about some of these people that are gonna be very, very accurate. And I think you're gonna hopefully you'll laugh. Hopefully I'll laugh as I do it. But you see these kinds of people, how they treat each other, and why Jack Kirby fought so hard and got nowhere with them. Because they're thick-headed. There's no way to reason with them. And since now we're in social media, in the world of social media, you see their attitudes. You really see how they are. And it's scary. Now I know we all live in a real world, but in terms of sort of the interactions with customers and with everyday people that are spending money on these books, it's disgusting to see it. So over the weekend, a lot of these fringe players attacked Peter Simeti. There's a genius, and there's an autistic Brooklyn genius who attacked him, an 8th grader. Been 8th grade for 25 years. I'm not gonna say his name. There's this other guy named Tim Doyle, who is a fringe guy who started a conspiracy to keep the book Drawbreakers from being sold to some stores in Canada, and he was friends with some of the owners. He's known as Pudding Boy because he took a picture of himself sucking on a chocolate pudding pop. There's another guy named Richard Pace, who I call him Dick Pace, because he's another one that has a picture of himself smoking a cigar. I'm not gonna mention, you put 2 and 2 together, folks, and that's the perfect name for him. It has so many different meanings. And then there's a few others, and I want to go into some of the really big names now. At some point over the last couple of days, because there's been a lot of brushback on this one of the creators, one of the writers for Ironheart that's coming out in November. And she's got no experience whatsoever as a comic book writer. And there's been brushed back. People are tired of these people that don't know how to write comic book characters. And Neil Gaiman, who's supposedly a legendary writer, I don't like his writing. He's a little strange. He's a strange little guy. I'm not a big fan of his. But he said that he didn't have an experience when he got to DC. He lied about his own resume. People went and checked out his Wikipedia, and it said that he did work in independent things. He was an apprentice of Alan Moore, so he lied. So he will be known as, and because he's British, he will be known as Bucktooth Neil Gaiman, who, if you don't know, was in the movie Rocky Horror Picture Show. Google his name and look at the images and you'll find a picture of him singing. I don't know if he was a stand-in for one of the actors in that movie, but you want to check him out. We also have Dave Gibbons, who I have reviewed a book of his. I think it was my third video, and it talked about Nazism with Captain America, and it was a great series. And he will be forever known as the Wikipedia King, because he tweeted out the other day he didn't know what Comicsgate was, and he tweeted that he looked on Wikipedia, which is an unreliable source. People lie on there all the time for their own agendas. But he said that he knew exactly what it meant. And that meant he was against it. He was against Comicsgate. So he will be known as the Wikipedia King. As Kurt Busiek, who I had interactions with, and he's one of the nastiest guys online. A few months ago I mentioned to him that when he has so many followers on his Twitter account, it's because of who he is as a writer, not who he is as a human being. He did not like that. And he thought that I said that was his brand as a writer. He blocked me from that point on. He has a picture of himself on Twitter of a grizzly bear snarling. I see pictures of him, folks. He looks more like a koala bear. Rotund, hairy, and take it from there. Then there's Bozo the Gail Simone, who, another one, who has been writing in comic books for 30 years, lied about her resume in the last few days, saying that she did not have any early work before she started at the Big Two. And we call her Bozo because, as you know, she doesn't want anybody to know that she is a Clown College graduate. And that's why her hair is that red. That's the kind of red hair that glows in the dark. When you could see it coming, she could wear all black. But if you could see her hair, you could see her in the dark. Glows in the dark. Then there's Ron Mars, who's another wonderful person online. He's also the only known Martian on the planet. You know, I give people these nicknames just so people understand that these are the kind. It makes you wonder what people were really like behind the scenes all these years in comic books, and why some of these creators fought with Stan Lee and with the people at DC Comics and Jim Shooter. Now Jim Shooter knows how to tell a story, and he knows how to ran Marvel, and you had to run a company. But you wondered the kind of back and forth that was going on. Now, I talked about John Byrne, who was a great artist, a great storyteller, but he's a tough guy to deal with. Now, he was a little prickly in terms of dealing with him, with some of the fans. Some people online consider him probably the first fan creator. That he's not the most pleasant person to deal with on a regular basis. But I'm not sure about that. So I've seen things, people posting things of him lately, that he's been very nice at conventions lately. Then there's Bill Sienkiewicz, whose brain is so scrambled, it's as scrambled as his name. And if you see the spelling of his name, he's got so many consonants in it, and so many letters in it. No wonder why the guy fights with his own elderly aunt, who's probably in her 90s, typing away on a computer somewhere in a nursing home, and he screamed at her online. You leave that for home, buddy. He's 60 years old. Then we have Now I'm going to give you a couple other names of people that have been sort of fan friendly, but they have been a little not too nice online. One is Scott Schneider, who you needed the Coda Ring to figure out what's going on in his books. I've been reading Justice League. I read the first 3 issues, and after issue 3 I had no clue what was going on. There were so many different stories going on, big stories with 7 or 8 characters, and you had to figure out what was going on. I was lost. So you needed the Coda Ring with him. Then you have Tom King, who I've mentioned that he created the George Costanza Batman. And everybody that knows Tom King always lets it be known that he worked for the CIA. I don't care. And he's one of the few creators that goes on these night shows, these late night talk shows. So that kind of tells you where his mind is set. Then we have Golly G. Gwendolyn Wilson, who will always be known as Gwendolyn Wilson because that's her real name. It's like when it's the most pretentious thing you've ever heard. Gwendolyn Wilson. She doesn't let anybody know that. Now she's gonna be writing Wonder Woman, and that's gonna be interesting to see how she approaches it. I would guarantee you that Wonder Woman's gonna be covered up a lot. Nothing important is gonna be written in that book. And I mentioned that in Seinfeld. Seinfeld's a big part of the channel in terms of what I talk about. And that name Gwendolyn is like that episode when George is going out with the woman. And he doesn't like the way the woman talks to people. Like the way she says their names, like Samuel, the stuff like that. So that's why from now on she'll be known as Gwendolyn Wilson. I will get that book of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a big part of the channel. Now, there's some other creators that I've reviewed, and some others that I haven't reviewed. There's Patrick Zurcher, who is a complete deranged lunatic. And for a while he seemed reasonable, but I think he realized that either he goes all out crazy or he starts losing work. So I think he's gone all out crazy to make sure that he doesn't lose any work at DC Comics. So he will be known as, and he puts himself down on his Twitter page as Patches, which is very apropos, because his brain's probably kept together with cloth patches. So he will be known forever, and that's a very appropriate name. He named himself, which is very good. I'm glad. I'm glad that some of these creators are smart enough to nickname themselves. And now to some of my favorite writers. As you know, Mark Waid is my favorite writer and is the channel's favorite writer because he is the enforcer. He goes in and he enforces his will upon Asian American publishers that he disagrees with politically, and even if they don't disagree with him politically and they're neutral, he's still gonna go after you. So it's very much what a old-time leftist does. He goes after Asians and Asian Americans. So it's good that they keep up with that tradition. Now we have our second favorite writer, Uncle Dan Slott, who, again, he's blocked me too. And I think he's a decent writer, and he blocked me too. I call him Uncle Dan Slott because he, in the last story, he's like the Columbo of comic book writers. It's like, one more thing, man, one more thing, sir. And now he's gonna do another story of Spider-Man. He did Amazing Spider-Man 800, which I reviewed for the channel, but it took me 3 days to read it because there was so much stuff that was going on in the book that it took me 3 days to write it. It was like 800 pages to read. 800 issue and 800 pages. Actually, it was 80 pages, but it seemed a lot more. And in 801, he writes another story where he planted an Uncle Dan, an Uncle Ken was his name. And I said to myself, this is him. People had said that he had placed himself in at the end of the Silver Surfer. That he made himself the Silver Surfer in the story. And when I read that, I said, he put himself in that, in Amazing Spider-Man. And now we have another writer, wonderful writer, Kelly Sue the F-Bomb Taconic. And I call her that because if you look on interviews of her to the Sci-Fi Network, because they have a whole bunch of interviews of these creators, every other word that she says talking about comic books is the F-bomb. So it should either be known as Kelly Sue the F in the comic or Kelly Sue the F-bomb the comic. A few others is Tom Brevoort the Punk, And I call him the punk because he's miserable to people online. He's uncustomer friendly. He talks down to people. He belittles people. And he does not know how to run a business. He's a terrible businessman. And I don't know what kind of editor he is. He's an executive editor. He's an editor. I don't know what the hell he is. But these are the kinds of people that we're dealing with as customers and as fans. And this is why some creators from the past have gotten nothing. Because these creators think they have everything, and at the end of the day, they're not going to have much either. At the end of the day. And of course his assistant, his apprentice, his assistant editor, former NFL player Alana Smith, who I guess blocked me a long time ago, long before the channel started. So she blocked me too. So I was surprised, and I was on her pretty hard with some of these Avengers books, especially with Avengers #3 when the She-Hulk got put into the trunk of a car. And of course we cannot forget Blockbot Master Al Ewing, who this week will be doing another Incredible Hulk book, an Immortal Hulk book. And we'll see what shenanigans David Banner gets into. As you know, in issue 4 of Immortal Hulk, Bigfoot went into a burger joint and got stabbed in the back. All he wanted was a burger. And then we have a new creator to the list. I have a lot of creators. I mentioned a lot of new names here today. Usually over the course of the last few months I've been sort of adding people to this list of wonderful nicknames. We have a new entry. His name is Ramon Villalobos. He is the artist on Border Town #1. And I will be getting Border Town #1. I have a couple guys here in the comic book hut that are going to participate in the video with me, and they cannot be more on two opposing sides, and one of them is really the enemy, the real enemy of the comic book industry. And when you see him, you will know that he is the most hated man. When you see him, you'll know right away. And now I'm going to mention the last name on this list now, folks. There will be another list, I'm sure, where I will add a whole bunch of other names, because there's so many miserable people in the comic book industry that do not want Republicans doing well. They don't want people that are doing well, that don't believe in what they believe in. And that is Jamal Engel. And I mentioned him last because he is the expert on everything. You don't know, when Jawbreakers was when the publisher was intimidated by Mark Waid, there was a lot of talk that the Jawbreakers creators were gonna sue Mark Waid. Well, Jamal Engel, who is nothing more than a comic book artist and who begs people to do coloring books. He begs people to do coloring books. He decided on his own to become a legal expert. He was going online and he became a legal expert online. He looked up Wikipedia, he Googled copyright ideas, he looked up publication infringement laws, and at that point he became known as Jamal Engel, Esquire, Attorney at Law. And at one point, a real-life attorney tweeted him out, Basic Law. He had no idea what he was talking about, and he blocked the man. So, this is the kind of derangement and Looney Tune attitude that as fans we have to deal with when we want to read our favorite comic book characters and favorite comic books. When you deal with this kind of almost like Wild West attitude, you could understand why some of the older creators were left with nothing. When you have these kind of people on the fringes of society doing the things that we dream about doing, and they treat people like garbage and they talk down to people. Now, I'm never gonna say, well, let's boycott all the people that I mentioned in this video. I will leave that all up to you. I will pick up some of the books. There's a couple books that I think hopefully be interesting to talk about. And if they're interesting to make fun of, I will roast them like you can't imagine. Roast them. I'm gonna burn them to the ground. But then again, I am an equal opportunity roaster. And an equal opportunity make fun of things person. Like for instance, if Jawbreakers is not great in terms of the writing, Richard C. Meyer will not know what hit him. Okay. We'll leave it at that. Ethan Van Sciver has his book coming out in November. I don't know what that's gonna be. I know him as an artist, he's a great artist. Don't know how his writing's gonna be. Hopefully it's not a dated in terms of writing, because I know that he wrote the original, he was the creator of the original Cyberfrog, and it was very 90-ish in terms of the style that it was in. We're talking about 20-25 years later, so who knows what it's gonna be in terms of his writing. And there's a few other books that are coming out, like Trump Space Force. If I think it's bad, I'll say it. But at least those guys are respectful to the customers. They're not belittling anybody. They're not like the Finger, Ramon Villalobos. And I don't know if I mentioned it, is that he is the Finger because he tweeted out a picture of himself saying that if you did not buy his book, it meant you were a fascist, and he gave up the middle finger. So he'll be known as the Finger from now on the channel. And we'll see how Bordertown is. Like I said, we'll see how Trump Space Force is. I mean, seeing little images, I haven't had any kind of, I don't have enough to sort of judge how that's gonna be. Because I don't know the creative team. I know that Brett R. Smith, we follow each other on Twitter. I don't know the man. I don't know any of these people. So I kinda am sort of a, not a neutral observer. You all know where I stand. But they're fun to mock and make fun of. Because they need to be. They are doing stuff that people dream about doing, and they piss over everybody. And it's time for a brush back, and it's time to sort of put them down and make them feel the way they make customers feel. When a kid picks up a book, picks up a comic book, It is their first book. Some kid somewhere is picking up a comic book and it's their first book. Like this Life of Captain Marvel. As this before. This is some kid's first book. This Batman and Robin number 35. This is some kid's first book. Or this book, which was one of my first books. It leaves an impression on you, whether you want to come back as a fan or you say to your parents, can you get me so and so. So when these morons, that's the best way to describe them, are so disrespectful to other people. You know, I mean, so many people spend money on these books, so much on the merchandise, and they go to the movies. What's great about the movies is people love the characters. So when you go to the store and those characters are in the books, you know, that's part of the reason why a lot of these books have failed. And instead of them saying, alright, we're gonna put them in. Now in the past they would put them in. I mean, in the beginning of the Fantastic Four, Dr. Doom and the Submariner were in almost every other issue. Because they were so popular with the fans that Stan and Jack wanted to keep telling their stories. They found new ways to tell the stories. Even if the stories weren't great, they kept having them come back because they liked the way they interacted with each other, they liked the way they talked to each other, and the story was secondary. It was all personality driven. Now you're having characters that have no personality, that have no pathos, that have no reason for you to want to come back to the book. And you're gonna see now a lot of stuff's gonna settle, especially with the Superman books. What's happening with the sales? Because the books are done terribly and Bendis doesn't care. And here's another nickname for Brian Michael Bendis. Low IQ Brian. He comes across to me as slow, you know. Anyway, on that sort of flat note, it's not a funny note. I think it's a funny video, but that's a flat note to the end of this video. But let me know what you think. If you have any other nicknames for other creators, let me know. I will not give credit if you leave it on my channel. I credit myself on all these nicknames. So not that they're copywritten, but I take credit. So if you leave comments and leave new nicknames for some of these characters, for some of these creators, you let me know. And I know that some of you clowns out there, including my sidekick Rob, will have nicknames for me. I tell the jokes here. Don't ever forget that, guys. This has my name on the top of it. But anyway, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think. Hit the bell for notifications so that when I post a video, you'll get a chance to watch it. I post videos all the time, and it's a very active channel. And hopefully you'll come back again. I'll have another video up either tonight or maybe tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. As you know, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day, and I will post some videos late tomorrow, and hopefully you come back, and I'll see you later.